That's good.
For as little rain as we got, but I still need it here. It's nice to take a weekend off sometime. Yeah, I think taking a weekend off, that would be nice.
That's kind of nice, ain't it?
So I fight myself with this. Okay, first off, stations, 7 o'clock straight up here, 8 o'clock Central Time. Coming up on Mark. All right, so they can tell the delay from there.
Gotcha.
So I fight my head with this sometimes. It's like, there's once in a while, like when I did the fishing tournament, I'll pre-record it. A couple times at branding, I pre-recorded it. But the biggest thing is it's like one of the last live programs that you'll hear on radio anymore. Between myself and Dan Cashman, it's pretty rare to have a live show anymore.
Yeah, that's true. There ain't many on. I mean, K-Fire's got Daryl on in the afternoon, and they still got a morning program. But, I mean, other than that, there's really no live. You're right. Most of it's pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But not on the weekend. Everything, I think, is pre-recorded on the weekend.
Yeah.
So I got it on your show.
Don't get me wrong. It would be nice to slept in this morning.
Yeah.
Jaber got power this morning. Gus rolled in at 1 o'clock, and the generator kicked in, moving cows around for water. Had to watch Nora play basketball in Lemon. I have power so far, but I also have my generator ready to go.
We got power. Actually, it's funny. MDU kind of came and drove by yesterday. I suppose just checking their line. We're right across the border, so we're on MDU. And I guess that was okay. They just checking things out. Nice of them to do that.
Darren asked Scott where you were yes or no for Measure 4. That is a conversation I'll have to have off air.
I'm for it, everybody.
Well, there's a couple things that I'm worried about for Slope County on it, and nobody's been able to explain it yet. They just said, we got the money, but there's some serious stuff in a small county, the smallest populated county in the state, with a lot of Forest Service land so the Forest Service, their taxes, the county forwards that to the Grazing Association so we can use for water projects and weeds. And nobody's explained where that money's going to come from. Nobody can.
Don't they pay an in lieu of property taxes, Forest Service?
Not in Slope County.
How that works.
Depends on which county you're in.
Okay.
And that's the thing is there's some things that, so I can see it. Yes. Property taxes are getting outrageous, especially even in Slope County. They're getting stupid, even though we're probably the lowest in the state. We're still in the last 10 years, it is almost quadrupled. But if you can't explain where we're going to get money for road projects and doing this and this, and they're like, well, it's going to come out of the fund.
No.
I know, but this is the problem.
You can levy a tax. Counties can levy a tax for those projects, but they're finite. You can't take an evaluated unrealized gain and tax it anymore. That's the big thing.
Wish they'd explain that, because if you can explain
that is how it's written. I read the whole thing.
Explain what's going to happen to the Forest Service stuff and where we're going to get the extra money for water projects and fire control.
Fire, same thing. Your fire district can ask for a levy just like it does now, and the county can do it for, say you need a new truck, say you need whatever it is, but it's finite. It's not coming out. I'll tell you this, Scott. I wish the heck they'd have written it so it gave. I think when I figured out the numbers, it's like a 1.5 to 2% sales tax, and let everybody that makes a purchase in your state, in your county, pay it. They'd have more revenue coming in, and we'd own our property free and clear. It's that simple for me. I shouldn't have to rent my property.
I agree with that.
For anybody's project.
I agree. But you tell me, name a business in Slope County that's going to generate sales tax for the county.
Well, they still got to maintain that from the state. It's one way. We got to have some sort of revenue base, but it shouldn't come from the smallest amount of, what do you want to say, payers in your county or state, and that's property.
I agree with that. And that's a hard one for me, because I agree with that. But I also,
And
nobody has
I'll put you
explained
this
some of
way.
the other stuff for me.
Right now, everything will be, for 1 year, it's going to be maintained so that the counties and the state can figure out the plan. But if we keep doing what we're doing, they're never going to change anything, ever. They're just going to keep taxing us. I can tell you this,
absolutely.
mine went from 3,700 5 years ago for the whole place. Now it's 8,200.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yep. 60 seconds of showtime, by the way.
Yep. And then I see,
hi, Karina.
Bond measures that they want to build facilities at schools that they don't need. That one really burns my butt every time I see it.
Well, be one of those guys that doesn't have kids.
Yeah, you don't even have kids.
Yeah.
By the way, there's $30 billion in the school land trust fund that they don't spend for some reason. Did you know that?
Yeah, that
$30
state
billion
land is a bunch of bull.
Billion. I agree, but $30 billion, and that's where that.
Stand by here. Coming in here in 10 seconds. Stand by. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Heard all across the Dakota Territory and great radio stations like K-Fire 550 in Bismarck, Mandan, KCJB 910 in Minot, KLTC in Dickinson, KOLY Mobridge, and KGFX in Pierce, South Dakota. Good to have you along here today on nearly 2 decades strong, working on 3 on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Clay Peterson, the guy that lives basically his back door is backyard South Dakota, front yard's North Dakota, right on the border. How you doing this morning?
Good. How are we doing up there in the wind?
Oh, it's windy out here today on the ranch, man. It is windy, scary. Yeah. Red flag warning for most of western North and South Dakota, and that means it's like a tinderbox out here.
Yeah, they're talking 45 and 50 mile an hour gusts for our area. I'm sure they are yours too.
Yeah. Well, on the good side of it, maybe it'll blow the flies and grasshoppers out of here, maybe.
Maybe.
I'm so sick of flies, man. The flies have just been creating havoc with my cows this year. It's just terrible.
They were bad this year. Yeah. I will say, yesterday we preg checked heifers and ultrasounded, and you know what? Our fly thing seems like it's kind of subsided compared to what it has been. So, yeah. Well, we did that fall work. Still got to do the cows next week. So, yeah.
How did you breed up?
Pretty darn good. My heifer's about 11%. I'll take that. It was, a different year this year, so I'll take that any day. So yeah, real happy with how they bred up. Plus, I had a bull break a leg right away 5 days in after I put bulls out. The heifers, man, I suppose I got to fighting. So yeah, I was happy with that.
Yeah, I always say, you watch these bulls, and it reminds me of Brookings, South Dakota, Cubby's bar at 2 a.m, college guys. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that, isn't there? Oh, my goodness.
Well, antelope, pronghorn antelope season is open both North and South Dakota here, and North Dakota opened up yesterday. I had a few people parked on the roads. I went and talked to them. I said, I got some people coming up with trailers to help me get some cattle rounded up. And they were really good about it. They're just like, okay. They're like, that's the thing is sometimes the communication you can come across one way or the other. And I've tried to take it upon myself to be a little bit more nice and just explain to them, got some big trailers coming up here. And by being parked in the middle of the road, it's probably not going to be helpful. So they were good about it. They really were. They're like, well, and a lot of people don't realize Slope County has a travel and burn ban on. So,
yes.
Where do you find that information? I wish there would be nice if the Game and Fish or Onyx or Base Map would have that as a little warning that comes up saying, hey, this county has a travel ban on it, and keeps people out of there. Wouldn't that be nice if that app would have some of that too?
And yeah, it would. And really, I don't think it'd be that tough to do. I mean, I've kind of gotten to know how to do some of this now, and really, it's not that hard to add to things. It's just a matter of having the manpower to keep it up, keep up with all of it.
Right. The best question a hunter can ask you is, besides permission to hunt, Right. Except one of my neighbors, he said that he got a text message yesterday, 5 minutes before the opening of pronghorn season started, saying, "Hey, can I
Mhm.
come on your property?" And he's like, not via text, you're not going to get on my property. But what if you walk up, if somebody comes into your yard or whatever, what's the best question they could ask you, Clay?
Well, I think the first thing they can do is just be friendly and introduce themselves, not so much a question. Shake your hand and say hi and introduce themselves, and then ask if they can hunt, and then ask if it's okay to, I suppose, how do they want me? How do they want me to have them access the land? Do they want?
Right.
I'd say that's the biggest one.
That's a good one. So mine is the best question these guys asked me yesterday because they had an antelope
Hmm.
spotted on some Forest Service property. And
Yeah,
and you got to be people listen. If you come into this side of the state, it's not all grasslands. Okay,
that's
okay.
right.
Stop calling it grasslands. It's Forest Service property, right?
Yeah,
But
the
anyway,
publicly held trust. Yes.
yeah, exactly. That us as ranchers got to pay for. But the best question that I've been asked this year so far is, he said, Scott, if you were to go searching for a pronghorn antelope, where would you go?
Hmm.
And I was like, so he pulled up his Onyx on his phone and I showed him two different plots. I'm like, I would go here
Oh, yeah.
because I always see him there. And I would go here because I always see him there all year
Yeah.
long. And he's like, really? I'm like, that's where I would, if I were you, and it was Forest Service ground, I said, you can walk into this stuff. And it was right along the road. I said, it's easy enough to get to, but people always mistake this little sliver here as
All
it's
right.
not big enough to go hunt. Right.
Well, that doesn't,
Yeah.
and that don't matter, does
Yeah.
it?
But the thing is, I mean, that's one of the best questions. It's like, where would you go, Scott?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question to ask somebody that lives in the area that sees it every day.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And you're right. I know where ours are. And yesterday when we went out after we, got done with everything, of course, it didn't open till 11 o'clock Mountain, but they weren't there no more. They left. And I know where they went, but we couldn't really get to them. And then the wind came up and I said, you know what? I'm not going to go out there and risk starting a fire.
Yeah.
Even walking, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's so dry. And today it's the same thing. I probably might drive over north on our roads because I know where they're at and see what's going on. But I doubt we're going to be out there doing much hunting today. It's more probably just a sightseeing tour on the road.
Right.
So,
but a person's got to think too. You take these, call it an ugly, windy day, right? And usually everybody has the same thought process we do is like, oh, they're not going to be moving. They're not going to be out today. They're going to be hunkered down somewhere. Maybe it's the right time to go after them. It is today, get them in the junk weather.
Yeah. And they don't like the wind any better than you or I. They seek out them places to kind of lay, especially during the day, and get out of the wind when it's like this. They don't want to be in it either. And they still got to feed. They still got to eat. So they still got to drink water. So you can still visit them places. And it's different here, just like it is probably for you. We have our own land, very limited access to it by others. And I know the habits of the animals on this place.
Yeah. I always ask the person that does the fencing.
There you go.
They probably know where stuff is at.
Yep. I was very pleased this year too while I've been out fencing and doing things. I've had a little group of bachelor bucks, I guess you'd call them. That's kind of a dumb term, I always thought, but of mule deer. Well, I had two now join that group. I don't know where they came from, if they got chased off of the river from hunters that probably on a res tag. I don't know, but all of a sudden I have two very, very nice ones that showed up. I was like, wow, where'd they come from? So, my mule deer, and then I've got a lot of does along with my whitetails. So we're starting to get things back here. Hopefully, and I haven't found any more whitetail deer dead. I was really afraid I might have VHD going through, but I haven't seen any more. Thank goodness. It's just two, and I hope that's it.
I got a Snapchat here yesterday of a buck, a dead buck. I don't know if the guy arrowed it I don't know if he got it with archery or he's starting to see them. I'm not sure on that. But
Oh,
yesterday, rounding up cattle, 2 sections of ground, I saw 2 small young deer and 1 bull elk, and the rest, that's it in this place. But we'll talk about that coming up here in the next break. Here, we're up against our first one. Clay Peterson's my guest. If you want questions, comments, you can always call in 888-9-DAKOTA. Be back after this. Dakota Community Bank and Trust would like to announce their Foundation Female Program. It was established to award recipients with an interest-free loan to purchase 5 bred heifers and assist area youth in establishing their own cattle herd. The repayment of the loan will be deferred for the first year. To apply, individuals must fill out an application. All applications are available at any of the Dakota Community Bank and Trust branches, and you can also find them online. For more information, visit any of the Dakota Community Bank and Trust branch offices or visit them at dakotacommunitybank.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran-owned and operated. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Pfeiffer's Auction Real Estate would like to invite you to their next round of auctions coming up Tuesday, October 8th, Norman County, Minnesota. One tract of 298 acres, another of 605 acres of cropland. On Wednesday, October 9th, there's 2 rings of online-only equipment auctions. You'll find that at Pfeiffers.com. And coming up on Thursday, October 10th, 1,000 acres in Burleigh County. That's up for sale. And on Thursday, October 10th, 850 acres in Morton County. For more information and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeiffers.com. Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com.
I'm Dale Paulke with Dakota Community Bank and Trust, where local banking is as comfortable as your favorite pair of work boots. Step into our branches and experience a friendly atmosphere, personalized service, and financial expertise. Whether you're a hardworking farmer, a small business owner, or a local resident, we've got the banking solutions that you need. So kick off your boots and let us take care of your financial needs at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors continues on a windy red flag, western North and South Dakota Saturday morning here. I'm Scott Bachmeier. Clay Peterson's my guest here today, talking everything. How did I explain that? I think I said it was calling. I can't remember the name of my show that I put on YouTube here today.
Oh, I guess
Called it something. Game, guns, and politics. Oh my, or something like that is what I.
Game, guns, game, and politics.
There you go.
My.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
No, we should pick up what we were talking about in the break. I think that's a good avenue, but it's up to you. Just go. You tell me what you want to do.
I think it'd be better to save that for the second half because
Okay.
It's going to get long-winded.
It can
Right.
it? Yeah.
It's going to get long-winded, but just a we'll talk about that and public land versus access and everything. We'll discuss that coming up in the second half of the show here. I want to ask you though, I was discussing this with a couple of hunters yesterday, and it used to be back in the day, my dad, when he was in the military, he was they called him marksman instead of snipers back then. He was between the Vietnam and Korean War, is where he served, and he was a marksman. Okay. And they liked the military always liked, or the rumor was they liked people from the Midwest, the Plains states, because they knew how to shoot at a longer range and were accurate because they did that a lot, right? I mean, that's how a lot of you think about from the 1900s. Okay, let's say that we're old enough to say that, right? That's where there's a lot of agricultural, everything was ag related at some point in some of these kids' lives, right? And they used to be able to shoot really well. These guys, they were like, wow, we really want to get within, if we can get within 100 yards, I'd be comfortable taking that shot. And yesterday, when it was opening right around that 11 o'clock Mountain Time zone, I'm telling you, it was not very windy out. It was a really nice day yesterday. And I was like, well, I mean, I said, if you get up to that bush right there, I said, that's a 500-yard chip shot. Oh, 500 yards. Are people I mean, where's the ethical shot yardage anymore? Because 500 yards after shooting coyotes years after years after years and being able to reach out there, I feel pretty comfortable at that. I mean, Jamie came down here. I think it was 505 yards or whatever. I took that antelope that one day. And I mean, I feel comfortable taking those shots. How about you? What's ethically the right yardage anymore for hunting?
So we just did video on this where we were shooting the full life-size steel target, right, with the little deal. Now, that was at 400 yards, and we had a 16, 18 mile-an-hour wind. We had that kestrel out there. So, I mean, we knew the conditions, but it was off the ground with your hunt rifle. I hit it at 400, and it would have been a dead deer, but it wasn't where we were doing it for the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Another guy punched it out, and a lot of people missed. So when you think about that, it's kind of an individual thing. Personally, it depends on what I'm shooting at, but I can tell you right now, I like my shots 300 and less, just because I have that luxury here, because my animals aren't pressured. I like them standing still, and I love to be able to drop it so it doesn't take off running and suffer. I mean, I'm not an evil monster. I want the meat, and I enjoy hunting, and it's our right to do that. So for some people, I think 500 is a very ethical shot. And then for the next guy, 100 yards isn't, because they can't hit the side of the barn. I think you need to get out there. It's just like any other tool, right? If you practice with your tool, if you got a welder, you're going to become a good welder if you practice with it after you learn the basics. Well, same thing with a gun. Get out there, get behind it, and know where that gun shoots. Know where that thing's going to hit. And practice in all conditions, because you never know what condition you're going to be out there in. And I think it's a good lesson, like what we did the other day. And there was the YouTube comments of some of the idiots, but most of them appreciated what we did. And it was real. We showed our misses, we showed our incapacities, and it was, to me, that's what you do. Get out there and shoot in every condition you can, and you'll learn what your ethical shot is.
Yeah. Practice. I always say trigger time, no matter what you're using. I made that comment years and years ago. Even if you're using a 17 HMR shooting prairie dogs in the summertime, you're still getting used to pulling a trigger.
Absolutely.
This summer, I have more trigger time behind my dart gun for my cows than I do anything else. So, it's still trigger time, right?
Foot rot was, I don't know about you, but I fought a lot of foot rot this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. But trigger time is all about it, no matter what you do. I'm not a big fan of shooting targets unless they're living objects like prairie dogs, coyotes. Oh, I shot a coyote earlier this week.
Yeah.
And it was prime. It is nice.
Really? Already? Wow.
It looked awesome. Now, I heard through the grapevine, through one of our local big buyers, the market is only buying coyotes from Highway 200, which is north of I-94.
Yep.
All right. Across the state of North Dakota and north up into Canada. Those are the only coyotes that are going to bring any money this year. That came from one of the buyers that works with the large guys. Yeah.
Well, there's lots of reasons why that is. That's where your most prime ones are probably going to come from, at that colder weather. And I imagine, there's no, a lot of these places are using fake fur. The greenie operations have shut down the fur market, and that's what they wanted. It's unfortunate, which then gives us issues out here because nobody traps them and nobody hunts them unless you're a producer, landowner yourself.
So interesting talking to the same guy. He's like, a lot of people didn't know this, but PETA owns 51% majority stock in Canada Goose Company.
Oh, great. Wow.
What's that? Is that the parkas and what's the name of that company? It's whatever that company is, but yeah.
Wow, I had no clue. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what they do. And that's why people really need to, get out of your comfort zones of going to your games on a weekend and whatever you do other than check reality out. Find out your companies, what they are supporting, what they aren't. We can't avoid them all, but there's so many that can be done just by a simple click of looking at their home pages going, all right, what do they support? It's not hard to do.
Yeah. And it's no different than some programs that are being offered to farmers and ranchers. It sounds really good until you look and see who's actually supporting and funding these programs. And it's like, they're the most anti-hunting and anti-agricultural companies out there. Why would I take that program?
They're right. Absolutely.
But I think people hide it, though. On some
they do. They try to. They do try to hide. It's just like now. I didn't see one from this year, but I think it was last year, the year before, where the new CRP program enrollment, every year comes out, and the things you had to sign away, your property rights, essentially.
Yep.
And nobody cared. Daryl and I did a thing in Elgin, and the first thing I asked them, I was like, okay, on these projects, CRP in particular, I said, how many of you, by a show of hands, have read the contract? Nobody. There was like one guy, other than myself and Daryl. But I said, you might want to read that, because I go, when it comes down to it, say especially CRP emergency haying, I go, if you haven't read that contract fully and you signed it as is, you are not going to be able to, because I believe that it was the Pheasants Forever at that time has included in that was a $1 or $2 bump on acreage for you not to do it. It says it right in there. And so they participated in the program. You need to read your contract. They change from year to year, and make sure you're not signing away some. So you can't go hay it then if you took the money.
Yep.
You can't do it.
Not only you, but nobody else can either.
Nobody else can either.
Some of these years I still have some leftover CRP hay that I'm blending off here this winter, but at least I have it. It was a big deal for me to be able to get that. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. It is
Read
a huge
the
thing.
fine print, because
Well,
if you have people like the Audubon Society and World
oh,
Wildlife Fund like giving money for an agricultural hunting program, I have a hard time believing they don't have a
an agenda.
well, we know they have an agenda. Yeah,
With
I
some
mean,
input. Yeah.
it's hard for
Well,
me to support any of those programs that do that. But anyway, we're up against our half-hour break. We'll come back and we'll continue our conversation about Forest Service and so-called, and I say this in air quotes on the radio, public land. All right, we'll talk about that coming up your way here shortly right here on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Back after this. Dakota Community Bank and Trust would like to announce their Foundation Female Program. It was established to award recipients with an interest-free loan to purchase 5 bred heifers and assist area youth in establishing their own cattle herd. The repayment of the loan will be deferred for the first year. To apply, individuals must fill out an application. All applications are available at any of the Dakota Community Bank and Trust branches, and you can also find them online. For more information, visit any of the Dakota Community Bank and Trust branch offices or visit them at dakotacommunitybank.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Pfeiffer's Auction Real Estate would like to invite you to their next round of auctions coming up Tuesday, October 8th, Norman County, Minnesota. One tract of 298 acres, another of 605 acres of cropland. On Wednesday, October 9th, there's 2 rings of online-only equipment auctions. You'll find that at Pfeiffers.com. And coming up on Thursday, October 10th, 1,000 acres in Burleigh County. That's up for sale. And on Thursday, October 10th, 850 acres in Morton County. For more information and to bid with confidence, go to Pfeiffers.com. Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com.
I'm Dale Paulke with Dakota Community Bank and Trust, where local banking is as comfortable as your favorite pair of work boots. Step into our branches and experience a friendly atmosphere, personalized service, and financial expertise. Whether you're a hardworking farmer, a small business owner, or a local resident, we've got the banking solutions that you need. So kick off your boots and let us take care of your financial needs at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schriefer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition on a red flag warning Saturday across western North and South Dakota. Maybe even further than that here. Might even reach into central parts of the state. It's windy out here and it's dry. So Clay Peterson's my guest here. Clay, are you ready? This is kind of neat. I got a text from the South Dakota number here. It says, my friend got an elk. And what's exciting about this is, I don't know if you can see this, if you're watching the YouTube or not, but look at the smile on her face with her elk, man. It makes me happy when you see pictures like that, when they come in like that. So are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there
I'm
you are.
here.
Okay. But I'm telling you right now.
There you go.
Oh, you're on a delay. That's right.
Yeah, that little bitty delay that's on YouTube there. Yeah, no, you're right. That's what it's about.
Absolutely, it is what it's about. And the excitement of going out and hunting. I always tell people, my hunting experience came from my oldest brother. He's the one who got me excited and took me hunting and involved me in that, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And I still do because I had a good positive experience with it. And
I got two boys. They're now coming into where they're really wanting to do this stuff. I could care less if I fill my tag, honestly.
Right.
I get more enjoyment watching them and watching them apply the things I taught them. I guess that's the big thing, knowing that I pass that on.
Right.
Every time I get them on the bench, so we, when we're sighting in rifle, and we don't just. By the way, people, don't sight your rifle in the day before season. Spend some time with it throughout the year. Anyway, so it's fun to watch them now. Like especially my youngest, he wanted to try a different rifle because we were having trouble with his. Found out it's a scope issue. So and I didn't have I shouldn't say I don't have a scope, but wanted him to try a different gun. He decided he likes, would have been my father-in-law's gun. His grandpa's 7mm 08. He loves that gun.
There you go.
And he's proficient with it. So there you go. And he takes it out now and he shoots it himself. And he's effectively easily getting them 325-yard targets out here, them steel targets. And I know it's just cool that I'll be out somewhere and I might hear hear some gunshots. I go down there and there it's him on the range.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. And
what did they say? It's cheaper to buy ammunition than to bail them out of jail.
There you go.
Right.
Get them interested in ranching, fixing up vehicles and shooting, and they'll never have enough money to get in trouble. And then Jamie came out a few weeks ago, and we took his daughter out for her first youth hunt, and I mean, it was just a small doe, but the shots she made and how she did it, and we were right there with her. You just don't get moments like that. That's a first, right?
Yeah.
But you passed it on to her, and I'm visiting with Jamie. His daughter's like really into this, his younger one, and that's great to see. And you can just see she didn't exactly like the cleaning part of that deer, but she still was there. But the smile on her face, you just know that she's hooked.
Yeah, so the cleaning, a lot of people they gut them out, bring the carcass back, hang it in the rafters, strip it down, and everything. That's kind of how I do it. Yeah. But a lot of people now, I think Levi last weekend was talking about how they just bone them out in the field and don't do the gutting at all. Just do it and take care of it, pack the meat out, and you're done. And it depends on where I drop something. If I drop it in a canyon, that's how I'm doing that. And so it all depends. But let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Flath here. Jesse Flath, you're on. What's going on in your mind today?
Morning, boys. Good conversation on just hunting in general, Clay. I agree with you. getting the kids out there. I got 2 girls, you got 2 boys. My older daughter, she's shot a couple deer now on the youth tag, loves it. My younger daughter, she will come out and shoot with us on the bench. She's just not really, doesn't give a rip if she goes and hunts, but at least she's out there and understands it, and she loves eating deer sausage, and she knows where meat comes. She knows that the few cows that we have out behind our house and our little bit of acreage here they're there so that we have hamburger and steaks. And let me tell you, she's a steak eating machine. And it's just, when it comes to hunting and getting these kids involved, I think that's a big part of it too, is the realization of where things actually come from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is, you like I said, you made the point there. They know that them cattle are there for our benefits, for our nutrients, for our protein. It is. Your kids, my kids, they know where their food supply comes from. And I think we have really failed as people move into towns, towns, cities, urbanization, and get farther removed. I think that's where the problem has started, and we've let that go on for too long. It's our own fault because we didn't promote it. We were in an echo chamber. We talked to the people we knew and how they thought, and we didn't get out there and do enough. Even the big ag organizations, all of them failed at that. And now we're playing catch up. And I don't know, it might be too late. I really don't know, because there's a lot of people that think meat comes off a shelf in a supermarket. Milk comes in a gallon jug in a supermarket, if it's available. Remember, they're getting people used to food shortages too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, the other thing I wanted to mention is I did watch that shooting video, yours and Jamie's, with the deer target the other day. That was really good. It showed, like you said, you guys showed your misses. You went down the line and asked people what they thought they were comfortable at after the shoot was done, and then made them shoot at that distance. It made a couple of them guys that said they could hit a deer at 700 and made them go, "Oh, I shouldn't have said so far."
Well, I said 5, and I'm not making any excuses. And it is, Axe's range is tough. The wind is all over the place because of the way it sits in that little valley. But I missed my 500, even though I know I'm capable of that. Who knows, if I'd have waited 2 seconds, it might not have bloated. And I know that's what happened. But I was off as a whole. So, I hit 400. I did not hit 500. So that means I better get behind my rifle a little more and take some shots out there farther, because I don't do it enough.
Well, and to go off of that, we've got a weekend on us here. The youth season is past, but the regular deer season's coming up.
Yes.
Whether it's blowing like it is this weekend or whether it's calm, we are dry out there. I know my neighbor down a couple houses here, Chuck, he's a listener of the show. I have a shooting range at my place that I let a number of people use. And Scott can attest to this. Even with regular rounds, they don't have to be tracer rounds. They don't have to be anything special. When it's this dry, you can start fires just shooting, especially if you're shooting steel targets. But even shooting live targets, prairie dogs. We started a fire on a prairie dog town years ago. Just a normal day, but it was dry and it was hot, and we were the only ones out there, and there was no lightning, and all of a sudden we had a fire in the middle of that prairie dog town. So be aware when you're sighting your guns in, whether you're sighting in or hunting. Boy, when it's this dry, things can get hairy in a hurry.
Yeah,
I don't want Chuck's place burning up down the road from us shooting targets up here at my house.
Yeah, and especially I got steel targets. I mean, I can set up paper targets, and that really right now, if I was to go do a bunch of shooting, that's probably what I'd do. I'd take my other stand out there and shoot paper.
Right.
But that's why I like Axe's little range there, because he's got a gravel pit essentially we're in, and he keeps it pretty much sprayed down and weed free. So you're safe. You're pretty relative. Nothing's 100%, but you're relatively safe there. But you're out there on the prairie. Absolutely. You can start a fire really easy.
It's amazing what you can. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I had a neighbor that says that he took the shoes off of his horse because he was worried about it hitting a rock or anything and sparking that way too. That's how dry it is. That's the worry that some people have. They're like, that's how dry and scared we are out here at this point, which is why Slope County has a burn and travel ban on too.
Well, the other thing is, if you're out there shooting, whether it is target shooting or hunting, and this is something Scott and I figured out a few years ago, if you've got a silver bullet fire extinguisher, fill it with water. You can knock down a lot of fire with it, and it also works really, really good for washing your carcass down
Yep.
after you take your animal.
I heard him say that on one of on one of the shows there. So I do carry that now because I keep them on my trailers.
So nice.
But I throw it in the pickup when I'm going hunting, throw it in there, and then when I get back to the pickup, if I get something, guess what? That works great.
It was awesome.
You should have seen Jamie's face when I pulled up with my bale bed and we were cleaning out the 2 antelope, and I grabbed that and I started flushing out. He's like, I need one of those.
They're very handy. They're very handy for sure. So the bale bed. The bale beds are great for. I mean,
hydraulics
right
over
hernias. Yep.
All right, so Jesse, stay on here. We had a comment. It says more taxpayer-owned land would keep a lot of these guys from asking private landowners to hunt. There's a reason Western North Dakota gets hunted like crazy here. Open taxpayer-owned land, and I'm not quite sure. I told Clay about it. I'm not quite sure where that's going, but
yeah,
all of the public land out here is open.
Yeah, we went back and forth a little bit, and the guy that put that on there and I think I understand what he was trying to get at. Basically, it's the management of the quote public owned land that he doesn't like, and I agree with that. I kind of thought he was saying that all private land needs to be just open for hunting, and that I completely would disagree with because it's your land. We go back to that argument of can I come into Dickinson or Bismarck or Jamestown and come into your backyard and just throw a tent up and camp or walk around in your yard if I want to? No, I can't. And it doesn't matter if
it's on a section line you can.
Yeah, you're correct. But I mean, it doesn't matter if you have 40 acres like me or 4,000 or 40,000 acres. That's that person's land. That's their backyard.
And I don't think that's
they don't
what he was getting
want
at.
You in there. No, and the way it was worded at first, I didn't figure that's what he was getting at, but I totally agree with mismanagement. It doesn't matter if it's the grazing of cattle or whether it's hunting. You can tell public land in a hurry when you're out driving around because usually it's the worst looking stuff.
Yeah, it's so Clay and I were talking off air the very first break about I call it Forest Service property. I don't call it public land. It's Forest Service property. And they'll be the first one to tell you that. We were discussing.
And it's actually not even theirs. It's held in a public trust, actually, when you get down to it. Yeah.
But anyway, they're managing it. And however, I don't think it's as public as a lot of people think it is anyway.
It's not. It's not.
But when you're talking about weeds and water projects, and especially weeds at this point, because animals and cattle and everything spreads it. The wind today is spreading weeds. When it comes to managing that and taking care of it, they try, but it's up to the local grazing associations to really do it. The Forest Service doesn't have their own people spraying weeds or taking care of dirt projects or trail management.
Crossings.
Crossing, creek crossings and all that. That's kind of on the landowner that has that allotment that has to go through a lot of red tape to get that fixed for a lot of people. Because we use the trails too. There's no doubt about it. What I was talking to Clay is, guys got to realize that we get charged as ranchers if we want to use this property. And it's not overly expensive. It's a cheap rent, but we're still having to pay it. And they say that because we're taking a resource off of that ground. And my question is hunting taking a resource off of that property too?
It is. It really is. I mean, you're taking the game resource, and game is as big a part of the management plan, or should be, but not to the extent that we put it on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a good management plan to keep the game in check, and cattle help keep the grazing in check. It's supposed to be a good cycle there. So yeah, you are taking a resource. So, like you and I were talking, do we have a fee to hunt those lands? That's a good question.
And a lot of people don't understand, for me, if I have a gratis antelope tag.
Yeah.
Right. My wife does too.
So do I.
We cannot hunt Forest Service property because that is land that we don't own.
Correct.
So
yes,
a lot of folks don't understand that gratis tag doesn't really help us get on any public land at all. Right.
You have to put down the pieces of property that you own when you apply for that tag.
Correct.
So, like me and myself and then of course Landon and Leighton each have one. Well, guess what? We had to actually put pieces of land on that so that we could all have our gratis for our land. So, where my property line would be on mine ends, and then the boys, one of the boys is, so we got, we can hunt the whole place, but different areas of it legally.
Right. Yeah, guys got to be pretty specific about that anymore. And
yes.
And so yeah, I mean, we pay for it, but you can't hunt it.
Right. By the way, and in my situation here on the res, I got to throw this reminder out. If you hold a reservation tag, because those seasons start earlier, and then of course I see the hunters out here. They're only good for tribal land. They're not good within the boundary of every piece of land.
Right.
It's only good for those tribal pieces. And some of those are owned allotments by tribal members, but a lot of times they're absentee landowners anymore. And if they post it, it's not huntable. They have the right to do that.
Yeah.
And boys, some people, they just don't check it out. And that's on them. They should. And I always try to be nice about it and remind them of that. But
that's one thing a guy doesn't realize sometimes is that tribal land is that's a big thing in both North and South Dakota. There's a lot of tribal land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a question on that gratis deal for both of you. If you have a gratis tag and you are paying for an allotment on the federal, you're basically leasing that ground.
Yep.
You still can't hunt that as leased ground because you're paying for the ground?
You can, according to the lady I talked to at the office, you can. You have to go in there and put that in as leased land in your application every year.
Right. It have to be on your gratis app.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But everybody else can hunt it too. You can't stop anyone from hunting it.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
not
weird,
owned land.
because you could do that if you had a lease with somebody else.
With
The owner can
with
reserve
private
it.
land, you could do that, but not with public. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
But a lot of
It's
people just
interesting.
assume, Jesse, that's what I'm saying is, you get a gratis
Right.
tag and you put your name in this quarter instead of all the property. Technically, you're only allowed to hunt that quarter that you put on your application.
Right.
And a lot of people
Right.
don't get that. Yeah.
and it's not that you get a tag and you can hunt the whole unit. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You can only hunt your land.
Yeah.
And the land you put in. So, yeah.
So that's a lot of people don't understand that there's a little bit more restrictions on that. And I talked to those two guys yesterday, those two antelope hunters, and they're like, well, I'm like, well, I said, it's awesome. You can go on that piece of property and hunt it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't. They're like, you can't? They didn't understand. They were like, really? I'm like, no,
Really?
it's Forest Service ground and I'm not leasing it. So I can't put it down. I can't hunt it. And they're like, wow, we never thought of that. I'm like, yeah, you guys can hunt everywhere here.
Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
With a general draw. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it gets into murky waters sometimes, but still, I want to go back to do hunters then need to pay to take a resource off? And Scott's the one that brought that up in that break, and I think that's a great topic, which we aren't going to have time to go through today. But
probably not be able to get through it and have any solution on this. And I think it's a very touchy subject because they say, well, it's taxpayer money is what's paying for this ground. And I'd really like to know how and how much. It'd be interesting to actually see those numbers. I haven't done the math on that, but
I haven't either.
It'd be interesting to see what that is. And then, and there's some people that go above and beyond, and they'll come out and help fix fence and help move cows and help do things. And yeah, I have no problem with that, right? I mean,
let's not forget that there's also a ton of Pittman Robinson money, which was paid entirely by hunters. That's very true.
Yep.
For their things that some of these projects get money from if they do some kind of a cost share thing within that ground. So there is that factor too. The guy would have to sit down and, like I said, crunch those numbers and see exactly what the percentages are and where it's coming from. It truly would.
Very quick here before we go. It's Wayne says, can brothers hunt each other's property under the gratis tag? As far as I know, absolutely. What you put in your application online, and you have to write in the legal description of that land, from what I understand and what I was told, that is all you can hunt.
That is all you can hunt.
Now, they're going to say, well, you're not going to put in, if you're a big farmer rancher, you're not going to put every legal description in, right? And I mean, that I understand. Yeah, okay, if you own 10,000 acres, you put in 1/4, yeah, you're going to hunt that. But it's under your name. I think if
Right.
it's under somebody else's name,
So here's
but-
how I read it and had it explained. It's, of course, 150 acres.
got to do it in 10
is the
seconds.
minimum.
Go.
Oh, 150 acres. If you lease it, you gotta support a lease, but you have to hold the lease and you have to buy the general hunting tag or hunting license. If you own it and it's your property, you just put that down there. And if they ask for a proof of ownership, provide it, and you get it for the specific quarter or 2 quarters or whatever it is you write down. And so that's
right.
how that works.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We'll continue this on the YouTube channel. Have yourself a great weekend. That wasn't 10 seconds, Clay.
I know.
Stations, thank you. We're going to continue on the YouTube side here just a little bit longer here. But yeah, I mean, if the game warden wants to be picky about it, and trust me, I got called out on this. They go in on your application and they see what you wrote down. And if they see you on any other property than what you wrote down, they can ticket you or take away your tags and license and all that. So it can get pretty ugly.
It really can. And I really, when I apply for my grad, especially for deer, there's really only 2 quarters I put down because that's where the deer are and that's where they are going to be.
I write everything down.
Yeah. I don't, like, I mean, I've definitely, of course, and I've got 2 boys, so I got to have land for them to hunt too.
Yeah.
And you have to have, you can put one person on it all, but then only that person can be on it.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we, basically.
I'll be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'll be devil's advocate on the pay to hunt the federal land or pay to hunt the land.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to argue that they already paid to hunt by paying for their license to the state Department of Game and Fish.
But that does not go to the land,
right?
The Forest Service property. Nothing of that goes to
know.
It don't go to any land really. It's to manage supposedly game and fish. And I'm telling you right now, most time game and fish's money that comes for projects comes from Pittman Robinson. I mean, that's the money they use.
Yeah.
So they didn't really pay for that land, and it really don't go to the federal land. They're separate entities.
Yeah.
They
No, it'd go to the state land. You could say that part of your hunting fees would show up on plots and some of those other programs possibly, but no, it wouldn't go to federal at all.
No.
Which plots it does, which that's a fee hunt. Let's face it, that's fee hunting,
Absolutely.
just at a different level.
Right.
So
Absolutely
when they say, "Oh, I don't support it," well, yeah, you kind of do support fee hunting.
State sponsored.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
And
they don't only lease the best land.
And it gets me about, okay, so I'm going to talk on that. So plots doesn't necessarily mean you have to have good land. All right. Because, Terry Steinwan explained it very well to me because I said, you see some of these people with plots land. I said, it's nothing but a desert. And he explained it very well. He says, Scott, not everything has to hold pheasant or deer. He said, some plots land, you can call coyotes in on. And I'm like, okay, so I agree with that. You don't have to worry. I don't care what type of land it is. And they give different dollar amounts depending on what type of ground you got.
Correct.
But if you're looking at managing game, why in the world would you put anything into plots where everybody can go hunt it? Like this plots land next to us. This 2 sections of it. I mean, there's gravel roads around one section of it and another mile of another one. It is absolutely hammered. There's no animals anywhere as close to this thing except prairie dogs. Right. And I don't understand how that's a good way of managing property or game is when you got 40 people in there chasing everything out of it.
I don't either. And I think when it comes to that kind of land, as far as what they enroll in plots, they need to revamp that. They really do, and look at what they're doing. Because to me, wouldn't it make sense to find the guys that you can tell they're managing it for everything? They're managing for grazing, they're managing for wildlife, and they might even have, their own little, I guess, management plan to benefit. That's what I'm working on here. So I have more game, right? I mean, isn't that the people you'd want to seek out and see if you get them to participate? But then you got to me, implement like what Montana has, that block system or something similar.
I was just going to go that way.
Management.
I think that's
Otherwise,
where a
I
guy
get
needs to
hammered.
go. I
Yes.
think the plots in the walk-in land in South Dakota is a great
Yes.
idea.
Ready?
But
Ready?
they should have a parking area where they have to
Yep.
park and they have to sign in. And so if anything does happen, you got somebody, if they start a fire or something, you know where to go to.
Exactly.
I think, but I really think they need a parking area first and foremost on this stuff because I'm sick and tired of people parking on our road.
Oh, we got the
Mhm.
same thing here. I got that 2 quarters just to the north of me. That's Forest Service, and they park on the curve, and they're in the way, and it's a blind curve, and there's a lot of people hauling hay right now, still. And I'm telling you, it's not a good situation because they don't get far enough off with their $80,000 pickup sitting there.
You know, you can put some pinstripes on with those hay racks.
Yeah. Yes. I just use common sense. It comes down to common sense, which doesn't seem to be very common anymore.
Well, was it 3 years ago, Jesse, 4 years ago, you were hauling the Dickens in for me and you came back on the gravel road and somebody was parked there. I mean, you almost had to either.
I just about ate that pickup.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
It wasn't going to be me going in the ditch and rolling your semi. That pickup was going to end up in the cab with me.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to too. I mean, on some of them roads, well, you guys know, you've been on these back roads, gravel roads, what they call a road. They're not meant for any other traffic than one way because there's not a ton of traffic on them, and you just kind of watch what you're doing. And I mean, they really aren't built for that, especially if you got people parking on them. It makes it very, very dangerous.
well, like I told the guys yesterday, I'm like, I mean, hey, if you want to park here, I'd just let you know. We got some guys with trailers going to be coming through here, and and they were good about it. I mean, I think if a guy just talks to a lot of these guys, that for the most part they understand. The one guy though, he parked on the road, and he was 20 yards from an approach, and I was like, just pull into the approach,
Yeah,
pull into the approach. It's right there. So
I do have to say that when we were hauling hay, there was 3 different sets of bird hunters when we were hauling hay. Oh, that was last year actually.
Yeah.
They were very good about it. They knew we were in the area.
They did, yeah.
Coming, and they were very good about getting out of the way. They waved at us. They were very aware of the fact that we were in the area, and they were very good about it. So there are good hunters out there too. We got to make sure we.
There are.
Absolutely, there really are. Yeah. And I've got. I mean, a great story is I met a guy here 2-3 years ago. I actually saw him out there with his kids pheasant hunting. There wasn't much for pheasants, but I had a few, so I like to see the kids hunt. I went over and invited him and talked to him, and then said, "Well, why don't you come over here, and then your kids can get some birds." Well, now we're good friends. He lives up by Valley City, and he put a new air conditioner in for me this year.
There you go.
So that's how that works. You get to know these people and become friends, and you build those friendships and alliances.
Hey, I'm all about the barter system.
Me too. And that's what that was.
If you're coming here and you're like, it looks like you need your, I don't know, your barn retinned, and you're okay. That goes a long ways, man.
Well, his name's Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, if you're listening. I know I've told him about your show because we did that on a cost situation because he hunts here, and we had some bartering, getting to be friends, neighbor. To me, isn't that the way it should be? You're kind of helping each other and having some fun. I don't know.
I'm getting text messages here. I'm trying to get out.
Hopefully it's people offering you new air conditioning.
No, they're not offering me that. Dead Wolf Resistance says I'd have to call in on the parking issue. They shouldn't be allowed out here unless they graduated from my parking school.
Well, I'm with you on that. I'd like to see, and to me, wouldn't that be a good use of Pittman Robinson funding to put parking areas in? I mean, that would actually directly benefit the hunting part of what that money is supposed to be.
It would benefit the hunting, it would benefit the management, and it would benefit the community by not having people parking on the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's that, Jesse? I didn't hear that.
Sorry, it's yelling kids.
Oh, no, it's I look at it this way. like I'm going to be rebuilding some fence over at our other place. And I kind of looked at this area. I've never liked the way it was built. So I think what I'm going to do with that is make that so that people can park there, maybe put 2 or 3 vehicles there.
Yeah.
That way it gets them out of my way, it gets them off the road, and it's right across from those 2 quarters, the Forest Service land. I mean, I think people have a misconception that when you post your land and you go around, and I'm out there hunting. I mean, I'm out there too. So yes, I do see things, and I catch people when they're on the place because I'm out there anyway. But that doesn't mean that we don't like hunters and we don't like hunting. We live it and love it, and I didn't always own land, so I had to ask and be good and be nice.
Conversation goes a long ways.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think
there's only so many hunters that you can have on your place.
Yeah.
You know how many you can have. You know, I know how many I can have, and you have to say no sometimes.
Well, you don't want all your game depleted, right? I mean,
right. It's about management. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of them understand that. I mean, I walked 2 quarters north of me. After a deer season opener, right there at the opening on that day, guess what? Everything runs off of it, and it gets pounded all day, and there's nothing there the rest of the season, pretty much.
Every day, or this happens.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We're listening to some education now.
There we go. We call that.
The issues of being a dad with 2 girls.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, when you look at what we were talking a little earlier too about that disconnect, well, we do have a disconnect between people and their food. I think it started in the schools decades ago because they started taking egg classes out. They quit doing all them things. I mean, look at our trades. I think I heard a number today on a news source I was watching this morning. They're talking about how in the trades, plumbers, they're AC people, things like that. For every 30 people retiring in that trade in the United States, there's only 1 replacement coming in behind them. That's not good.
Well, yeah, I was fortunate. Last week and a half ago, I happened to be in Las Vegas. The National Mining Convention was on, and my wife went, and I got to go with. I was fortunate enough to get to listen to Mike Rowe talk from 10 feet away for over an hour. MikeRoweWorks.com. He's got his own foundation that he started to put money forward for kids that are going to trade school. Yep. It was I believe he said it was in the late 60s, early 70s, that there was a shortage on skilled people. By skilled people, engineers, doctors, lawyers, stuff like that. So there was this huge push to get kids to go to college for these things. Right. Well, now we got too damn many of them, and that push is still there. You're still told that if you don't go get a 4-year college degree, you're not going to amount to a damn thing in life. And that's wrong.
We were told that in high school even, and it is wrong. Completely wrong.
You can go get your HVAC degree, your plumbing degree. You can make 6 figures in a small town immediately if you're just willing to go do some work.
There's the issue. Right. Willing to do the work. All right.
Yep. So everybody wants to sit in front of a screen and get paid from making TikTok videos.
Yeah. As I'm sitting in front of a YouTube screen right now. It's no 6 figures, I'll tell you that right now. So
there's 6 figures, you just got to figure out where the decimal point's at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's Wayne Muth says, we've knocked on a lot of doors and made dozens of phone calls for moose hunting this fall. We run into a lot of absentee landowners, making it difficult to get access in places. And there's something that's going to be more and more, especially out in this area. There's a lot of absentee landowners, which neighbor's one of them. And the great governor here is another one that you can't talk to and get a hold of, and that is kind of a big issue anymore. And Carson Wentz is buying up land out here, and then he's got all his football buddies buying land up out here south of Medora and stuff. And
that's why I'm against Measure 4. It needs to be rewritten. If you're an absentee landowner, there's no way in hell you're getting out of paying land tax, because that is a recreational and or investment property, and you should have to pay taxes on that property.
Why? You own it. You don't do that with any other.
You're out of state. You want to figure out how to keep out of state special interests from coming in here and buying up all of our land?
Okay, then you're going to
Yeah.
do that to every out-of-state business that comes here because they get property
Yep.
tax breaks up the butt. Breaks, I'm talking. So I don't believe in that. I believe in a true capitalistic system. If you own your property, nobody, especially the government, should be able to send men with guns to confiscate your property for failure to pay. Period.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that
So
I
that's
had
what
brought
they
up to me
do.
by an individual, Clay. What do you think of this caveat onto the bill? Once you, because one of the big arguments is these poor people that are in Bismarck, Fargo, Grand Forks, they've owned their house since the 60s. They're retired, and their taxes are going so high on their property taxes that they can't even keep their home. Once you begin to draw Social Security, you're exempt from property tax.
It's not a bad idea, but this is
I
our
mean, there's a
last
lot of
chance.
different ideas.
But
You know.
we don't have time anymore to do anything else. This is it. This will not come back. If we don't get it this time, then we're going to have property tax for, I know, till after I'm dead. That's just the reality of it. That's how complex this is. And until we force these people that confiscate our money from us to make a change, they won't do it. The legislature's had several attempts at this. The prairie dog bill, the buybacks, the buy downs, they don't work. The primary residence thing, I don't want a tax credit. I don't want it collected to begin with. Why should I send my money to the state or the county or any entity, let them use it for a year without interest, and then they'll give me a portion of it back? No. We need to pass this one and start making the changes and force those changes, because trust me, it ain't just, I'm not into tapping the legacy fund, but there's plenty of other money, like $30 billion sits in the school land trust fund. Why aren't we using that?
So this is an actual hot button topic, Clay, that actually makes a difference and actually matters.
Yes.
What do you think about the bill that where they wasted a whole bunch of time writing up a bill to not call the state school for retarded the state school for retarded anymore?
Yeah,
Dumb and deaf.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I voted no on that because it's a dumb waste of time. Absolutely.
I mean, it's antiquated language. It's whatever. What a waste of taxpayer dollars for the legislature or to make an initiated measure. People spent a buttload of time because they don't like the state school for the deaf and dumb, the state school for the mentally insane. They need to change 4 words so it makes somebody feel better. Give me a break. Let's concentrate on something like Measure 4, where we actually got to hammer out and figure something out that actually does some people some good.
One thing about it, if it passes, they'll be forced. And I still say, I think the best solution, because I don't like this idea that a few of us pay that, because it's only those of us that own land. That's it. Nobody else pays it. The only people that pay is property owners. And that's getting to be a smaller and smaller number, meaning the burden's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on. Why not have a 1.5 cent sales tax collected, specifically designated to that, based on the 10-year average? I think that's about what it come out to when I was doing that. It was 1.5, 1.7, whatever it was, percent, would replace it and be more money than it would be just collecting property taxes. And let everybody.
Sales tax has always been the fairest tax. It's always been the fairest tax.
Not just
if I make $10,000, if I make $10,000 and I want to spend $9,997 of it, I pay taxes on that. If I make $9 million and I want to spend $9,000, I should only have to pay taxes on that $9,000. If I want to sit there and save the rest of it for whatever else, I'll get taxed on it if and when I spend it.
Yep,
that's always been the fairest tax in my mind.
Absolutely, it is. I like a user tax, but it's got to replace something else. I'm not for just raising it and then keeping all the other taxes.
Right.
And then you get everybody, and all of them people are like, well, the poor have to pay. I said, good, they should pay something. Why? They're the biggest users of the facilities, and I'm telling you that I can probably name 100 people I know that are taking assistance of some type, but yet they got a cell phone and they got satellite dish and they got computer internet. Not all things you need. So let's prioritize, and even if it's $1, fine, pay your $1. You know what
my priority is?
That choice.
Finding large rifle primers so my daughter can still hunt this year.
You can't find any?
I got a couple still, but I'm getting short. I got another season left here.
Oh,
so. Well, I got to get to a 7th grade volleyball tournament for the rest of my day, boys. So
Have
good,
fun with
good show,
that.
good conversation.
hey,
Clay, when I get off, why don't you talk to Scott about the email I sent you earlier this week?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I think I even sent it to Scott, but I don't remember. But hey, I have,
All
if
right,
you want
talk to you guys later.
Winchester.
All right, see you,
Hey,
Jesse.
Jesse, if you want large rifle Winchester Magnum primers, I can
Okay.
hook you up with some if you're in a bind.
All right, I get low, I'll give you a ring.
All right.
Thanks,
Talk to
Clay.
you later.
Bye.
I did send you that email, didn't I, Scott?
Yeah, you sent it to me.
Mr. Quinn.
See, Jesse, the 223 works like a charm on deer. You don't need large rifle primers. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
If you need some, though, I guess I said I can hook him up if he needs some. I don't know, I've got a lot of stuff on hand because, well, like you, Scott, I mean, I live closer to things than you do probably, but they're not always easy to get somewhere to get them. So I keep all that right here and I'm ready to go.
Dead Wolf says black powder and a fixed bayonet's all you need. Yeah, this whole Measure 4, I just, that's for another talk show.
Oh, it is. And here, it's like I keep telling everybody, I wish that it would have been more, I would have loved to seen the user-based replacement. That's what I would have loved to seen in it. And I don't know why the group didn't do it. I know I put my 2 cents worth in on that, but when it came out, it didn't do it. And you and I off air someday can talk about the integral workings of when this was formed and why I kind of backed out of being quite as involved as I would have otherwise.
I think it's different for each person. If you live at the end of a section line like I do and you have to deal with what I got to deal with and pay and deal with the Forest Service and they, the Forest Service doesn't have the same travel and burn ban as the county, and they I mean, it's just a mess. And then if I was just living in town and coming out hunting, I think it would be the best thing in the world. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see both sides of it. I really can. So it's a hard one when you got to deal with it on a daily basis. I mean, I started dealing with it 1st of September all the way to the first week of January.
Yeah,
and it's not just hunting. The worst people out here that take advantage of everything are these mountain bikers because they see a cow trail and they take it.
Get on it. Yeah.
And whether it's private land or not. And it's just it's something. And they litter, man. I mean, the granola wrappers everywhere. And then they're
so green.
And they poop everywhere right on our corner fence posts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they're just like the nastiest people around here. It's like, seriously, you guys are supposed to be the earth loving, feeling the power of the earth in your feet type people, and then they just do what they do, and it's like, what the hell's going on here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I for the first time this year, earlier this spring, I was going over north, going, let's go fencing around them allotments. There was a guy out there on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Where the heck did he even come from? There's no vehicle, so he had to ride up there on the regular road. And I said, well, what are you up to? Oh, I'm just biking through here. I go, you realize that where this perimeter fence is, that's it. Oh? I said, if you go all around on that other piece, I said, that's private land and you can't do that. Had no clue.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't understand that. They
goes,
it's like when people call it the grasslands instead of Forest Service. If you look on a map, the whole corner of the state is considered grasslands. So they just assume it's all open. There's private property inside that.
Yeah, and I think where they come from a lot of times, they come from them big cities. Take Seattle. There's a lot of Forest Service mountainous land around there. Not too far from them, and of course that's all open, and they can go as far as the eye can see. And I think they think that's what this is.
So I got a kick out of something that was sent to me on, I can't remember, it was USDA or I don't know. It was something about conservation. And it had a picture of a city skyline with a park. And that's what people consider conservation anymore.
Yeah.
In the big urban areas. It's like, okay, I don't think that there's a lot of animals in there, but all right.
Right.
If that's conservation, I guess it is, that's what they look at it is. And it's like, and why wouldn't they use a picture of, the North or South Dakota Badlands or, nice farm ground with ample corn for the deer to eat or something? I mean, that's conservation. So
yeah, that's actually real conservation. And
yeah.
the idea of they've hijacked that term too. I think the people that are on that land working it each and every day are probably the biggest conservationists in the world, because if we don't take care of it, it don't produce for us, right?
Well, are we just into conservation for wild game, or how about the human beings too?
Right.
We're the ones producing. They're producing food, and I think people forget, especially in some of the large urban areas, they're forgetting where their food comes from, like you and Jesse were talking before. And everybody thinks conservation always has to do with wild game animals. We have to worry about human beings too, and part of that conservation.
Right. It's a well-rounded deal. That's what it's supposed to be. And it's not. They think just, we're going to save all the wildlife. Okay, so you're going to save all the wildlife, and then what? We don't use the land for anything else. You're going to import your food from other countries that don't get involved in some of the craziness we see here?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not smart. Well, what do they call them? 10-minute cities or 20-minute cities? They try to, I've seen those modeled. It's like,
What's that? I've never heard of that.
Oh, that was done at the World Economic Forum. These creations, and it's actually a real discussion they had. I think that's where it took place. About creating these 10-minute cities where you live in these skyscrapers, and everything's within 10 to 15 minutes of you, everything you need.
I got you.
Yeah, okay. I've seen movies about that. They're trying to tell us in the movies, I think, what they want to do to us.
Yeah.
and everything's provided for you. Yeah, that's going to work.
Interesting. I've never heard of that one, I guess, man.
Oh, yeah. I think it was done at the World Economic Forum.
10 minutes.
I mean,
good grief.
We laugh sometimes at it and go, but all them things always start with something like that. And then 20 years down the road, because they start indoctrinating kids in schools that this is great, guess what happens? I mean, think about it, Scott. When I was growing up, I heard about global cooling. Then that was global warming and acid rain. Remember that in the 80s?
Oh, yeah. And then the ozone layer is gone.
Yep, the ozone's it's huge. We got to change all these things. And then they found out, it's always been there, and it contracts and expands just with cycles. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And then now it's climate change. None of that resonated. Now it's climate change, because now they can make that fit, that title fit anything. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing, just relabeled.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because it's almost like the United States government is looking at this going, okay, guys, we need our marketing department to come up with a new slogan here, because this one's getting wore out. It's almost like the government has a marketing department to come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like that, ain't it?
Yeah, it's like, we need to create a little bit of turmoil right before let's have a union strike on the Eastern Coast. So yeah, and then right before an election, right? Yeah, and then we're going to say, okay, we're okay until January, and then we're going to wait until after that. And oh, geez, yeah. Anyway, I suppose I better get my day rolling.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. I got some things I need to do, and then we got some company coming over this afternoon that we were going to do some shooting, and he brings his kids, him and his wife. They've got 6 kids, so that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But they're going to come out and have some fun, and we have a good meal. So I kind of got to get prepped for that too, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Well, have yourself a good weekend. Enjoy, and hopefully you get your goat on the ground. And
we We'll take a look. By the way, guess what? Fascist Book actually they put our Facebook page of Guns and 7-1 in suspension right now because they say we're
Shocker.
dealing firearms.
Shocker.
Yeah, big shocker, right?
Yeah.
So, alrighty. Thanks, Scott. Well,
All right.
we'll on again too, and I think it's fun doing that. So we'll
Okay.
talk to you later.
You bet. Sounds good, man. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
All right. YouTubers. Thanks, guys. Good show. Appreciate that. Thanks for letting me be here. Y'all take care. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody that sticks with. And, here's the thing about the conversation and what a guy gets to, especially, and Jamie, yeah, it's hard to do this via chat, right? I mean, that's just, here's the thing is, always be willing to have a conversation about it, whether you're one side or another, whether you're asking permission to get on land or not. Just have the conversation, right? That's all it comes down to. Have yourself a good weekend, everybody. I'm going to go try to stay out of the wind today.